Hey people, I'm fixing to give you the exact day and hour of the return of Nibiru, aka Jisoo. It's been hidden in these ancient Hebrew writings, and we're going to go over it. And I'm going to go over these these first 6 lines leading into it, and we'll do a little math, and we'll see why the Mayans were one cycle off, and then we'll go. We'll try to load the solar scope, and we'll take a look and see, so we'll know the exact hour that we need to put our tinfoil hats on and put our phones and computers in the microwave to protect them. So here in Isaiah 47, it gives us all the information we need to know, and it starts here with out. And about 5 videos ago, probably, I talked about this word. I didn't quite get it, but I got it now. And this is what out means. This is the old scarlet letter that they used to tattoo on a adulterer to out them. To as you've been outed, you've been ratted out. And so it's to see mark life, to put the mark on it. To out Nibiru. So Nibiru, it only comes up twice here, and you see the first time it comes up Exodus, it's got the tack in front of it, so it's actually read backwards. The war in Nibiru, WARBNNBRAU, the war in Nibiru. This is a long one. I mean, it's for another time, but you can see where it starts. To yammer, to make word in Anki, which reads backwards, but it's evolved this way for people that didn't understand that. To crat in writing. NG is ing. It's the cycle to carry. So if you step and you carry the cycle, you're stepping. So in writing, in the cycle to carry through, NGD, in writing. To call come home. The show, the nipple out raised, the nipple out raised, lower in Nibiru. And this is for another time. This one gets pretty long, but this one in Isaiah is telling us for the first words is to out Nibiru. It's to out them, to point it out. Out Nibiru. So this Nibiru is the cycle in first knowledge connected. And so this knowledge connected to be read as of, O-O-F. The knowledge connected to something would be of it. And so if you haven't watched my movies, I get all this off the ancient letter meaning charts, and I taught myself this language, and it only took maybe about 3 years, maybe a little longer. But all these word meanings I get straight off the chart. B means in. E, fifth letter, means the. Vav means connected and to. And all the letters have a meaning. M is from, the water. So this out Nibiru, the cycle in first knowledge connected. And so it's marked on this. This was an ancient astrolabe reconstruction, and so you can see Nibiru in Marduk here. This is the red mark. It's over here at the end of Adar, before Nisan, and you can see it. You can see it over here at the end of Adar and before Nisan. So that sits right there at Easter. And that's what this is marking, is the cycle in to begin, the NB, the cycle in to R, the first, to begin the knowledge connected. So all the knowledge begins at the mark of Nibiru. But this doesn't mean every Easter. It has just a certain Easter. Let me add this in here to hold back the confusion. Easter used to come a whole lot sooner, and it meant when the sun was due east. Now it's adjusted with the moons for the holidays. They adjust all the holidays with the moon, because they know the moon affects your thinking, and they use that information. But Easter used to come a lot sooner, and it just meant when the sun was breaking over the equator. And so this is what an astrolabe is. It said it was taken copied from an ancient astrolabe. And this is for fortune telling and sailing. Help you sail around the world, help you tell the time, the place, and tell your fortunes. So this is where I got that from. This page of sits out. It's Sitchin. Zechariah's Sitchin was wrong, and I'm not going to say he was wrong, because he did more than anybody else. And I studied all these from Sitchin and all the other Sumerian tablets before I ever started breaking down into Hebrew. But to out Nibiru, will amaze, will, W-L-A-M-A-Z. And so this chapter, it's all poetry, and it's teasing this word maze and a couple other words. And you see maze used a couple different ways, and sometimes it means corn. And it was probably drawn as a corn of ear, and it was given these 3 letters. And so these 3 letters can be used in different words, and they can be read backwards and forwards with a hyphen here. So to out Nibiru, will amaze, will ping to the place, will place, Muyum, this got a tack, it reads backwards and then forwards, M-U-Y-U-M, Muy, M-U-Y is very, and Muyum is the same, M-U-Y-U-M, it means very, much of. Will place much well smote. Will place much well smote. Smote is the past tense of smite. A very well beating. And so this is a very well smoked from, ends with an M. Very well smoked from, a very good beat. The pan, and it's going to read backwards with the tack here, read backwards and forwards. The panorama, the panoramic view, the surrounding view. The panorama, T, mark amar, to mark word. In. So this is in of course, the cycle of life. The cycle of life is the course followed. In the ID. The ID is the hand to see. And so the ID C is new all the way through, and because it's been ID'd. The ID C 10, T-I-N. So that in the ID to C10 the ID to C10 is Jupiter. This is the ancient sign of Jupiter. This usually looks more like a 4, and what this is this is a T, and this is the P, the letter P, and it's Ptah. And so Jupiter was the god of Romans, and the god of Hebrews, and the god of Egyptians. Ptah, Jupiter. So out Nibiru will amaze, will place much well smoked from. Gonna get a beat down. The panorama mark word, or the panorama of Tamar. And Tamar, that's another one of those gods in Stitching stories that come from the Sumerian tablets. The panorama, the view of the surrounding, to mark the word in the hand to C10. So I often forget to say this, but all the gods and all those other stories, those weren't gods either. They're all pieces of words, and so this panorama, Tamarian, and it's a picture of a god, and they're given qualities, and Tamar, is to leave a mark. Tamar, the surrounding, to leave a mark. The panorama, Tamar, to leave a mark in the surrounding. In the ID of 10. So Jupiter to the Babylonians is Marduk, and to the Romans it's the Father Peter, Father Ptah, the Father Sky God. In the Greek it's Zeus. It's the father of the gods. So I often use Wiki, but I can prove that a lot of their stuff is false. But I always use them, and I get information from them. But just because you read it in Wikipedia, don't make it true. But you can see it here. This is the P, and the T. Jupiter looks like a 4. And so this is where your clock comes from. Jupiter spins approximately, we go around 12 times, and Jupiter spins around once. So it's like a clock. If the Earth is the minute hand, Jupiter is the hour hand. So Jupiter's looking like this. Jupiter is the hour hand. And when it goes around one time, this is the Earth in here, it's the minute hand. It goes around 12 times. Almost 12 times. It's a fraction of 0.14 less. So by the time the Earth goes around 12 times, Jupiter has gone around just a little bit more than one time. So the next year on the same date, if it was lined up at Easter, the next year it'd be a little bit farther, just 0.14 every time. And so this is going to add up, and it's going to give a cycle before it comes back around and lines up again. So I had read or seen a movie about a year ago somewhere that NASA had put a filter in one of these satellites, and they saw Birkeland currents, a big electrical umbilical cord that was coming out of the Pleiades, I believe they said, and it run through a zeta pinch, and then it had run down to Jupiter, and then from Jupiter that umbilical cord came out and went to the sun, and then from the sun it run out to all the other planets. And it's like that zeta pinch. It's like something up in the Pleiades running down to Jupiter, runs to that zeta pinch is a governor. It changes shape, and then Jupiter is operating the sun, and the sun's operating the planets. I've seen it a couple times from pretty good trusted sources, and I'll see if I can find my buddy's YouTube. He talks a lot about the Birkeland currents, and I'll leave a shot for him down in the comments there. So this Jupiter mark, it was also a Mason's mark, and it had a large meaning to it. So when they would cut a stone out of the quarry, the master mason, he would go down to the quarry and look at the stone, and when he saw a good stone that he wanted to carve the king's head in, carve the god's face in, he would put this pay on there, just this little loop, and this meant face. And so the people moving that stone knew, don't damage that side of the stone, that's the face of the stone. And then when they got it to where it was going to be shaped, when the upper masons would go measure that stone out, and he would look at the blueprints and get the dimensions, and he would put this cross on that stone, and he would look at the stone and look at the grain and see where the writing was going to be and compare it to the dimensions of the work, and the cross didn't always line up with that pay, but sometimes it did, and so when you saw this mark, you knew what that meant. And what it was is he was given a square mark and a point, and so then you could write dimensions over here on the side, or you could look at your prints and get the dimensions, and you know that this stone had to be shaped 47 inches from this side over here. It had to be shaped and parallel to this line, and from the top and the bottom they had a line to work off of. So that's another meaning of this patah, this Jupiter mark, is that's a god stone. Somebody's going to carve the face of the gods in it. Don't damage it. And this is, when you saw this on the stone, you know that the master mason done been there, and his assistant done been there and got dimensions off of it, and it was ready for the workers to come and shape that stone. So Jupiter is a gas giant with a mass of 1,000th that of the sun. So if you think it's small, it's 1,000th of the sun, but it's 2.5 times of all the other planets in our solar system combined. It's 2.5 times all of them put together. And so you remember there's several other large planets out there past Saturn. So it's huge compared to us. So it has a huge pull. So this is those 6 lines leading up to it, and I'm gonna read them pretty fast. When I get to this tack, I'll read the next word backward and forward. And when I get to here, I'm gonna read all this backwards and start back over here. So, schmo, a jerk. The schmo to that bite info joke in. The Nephrium, in name his role. And from my Jude, make cross of, the nice boy from jobs, new acts make the do. Make from water to law raise, the mission from jar fiend, of a fiend, something you have to have. The info to make tie-in to zooms. In name you to belay his role. Belay means never mind, belay that, cancel that last order. To cut curry to, learn in power empty, in the house empty, will inside through center life. The key to give works the Rio Moyer. That's a self-elected river mayor, somebody who don't take no shit. The key, Rio Mayor. The codes never never follows the rules. And to all yell, Allah, his role. And smack to you, deciding out, same to. The smack to, you'll see every time it says and lay hands, it says smack hands. The ration what from as the giddity, and from pie to cross of, to wash my tears, the potomosity, what bane. And from pie, that's the mouth, and to wash my eye waters, to wash my tears, potomosity. A potom is a river, like a hippopotamus is a horse. A hippo is a horse. A potamus is a great river horse. So a potomosity, like the great river. To wash my tears, a great river, what bane, what terrible thing. From duty, key fish, etu to guide, from through sea tie to give works, from the job, the fish and or to guide, a fisherman or a guide. The barzel or pick, to mix, check, no use. The barzel is in first tools to bind, so that's iron in barzel. And the first tools to bind or pick, and from cross check, no use. You don't want to cross check them. It's talking about a bad old dude. It's talking about Marduk. He ain't somebody you want to mess with. He's a bad old fisherman and a guide, and he can scrap. He'll lay the smack on you, with iron or a pick, and you don't want to cross-check him. No use for cross-checking him. Vagid like from as enter from taboo, this matic. Panorama to mar, the ox by watch from, the Upsilon ski some, the Vagilic, up all night like, from as to enter from taboo, forbidden of this matic, this affliction, and the panorama surrounding to mar, and the ox by, the trees by to watch from, hiding up in the trees and watching. The Upsilon ski, the Upsilon secrets give work some, the S-U-M, some, the cross, the connection from. 5 plus a -4 gives you a 1, the sum. The Upsilon ski. key. This upsilon secrets give work. This is the upsilon. Upsilon represents Aries, represents a mass to light ratio. Pythagoras used it as an emblem of the path of virtue or vice. Virtue or vice. The letter which spreads out into Pythagorean branches has pointed out to you the steep path which rises on the right. The course of human life is like the letter Y. Every man reaches a threshold where the path divides in two parts, and in doubt hesitates, does not know which side he'd rather turn himself. Smoked haze. There's smoke beating, a hazing, a clee attached. The smoked haze clee to a time, halo mark guide to. This magic, this affliction hides what from out when sure what will hand see time. So that's a quick first reading over this, and you slow down and like Toph says, read it 100 times, and sometimes that's what it takes to get it. And so I've only read over this 3 or 4 times now, and it'll change. But this Jacob, it means to see the center in, and it's where your word joke in come from. You got to look through into the center of the joke, and then backward it's info, the info joke in. And so depending on where that's at, it could be in a foe, in your enemy, to joke in, to see the center in. And this word here, Yasu, that's where your word Jesus come from, is to work cross of, the knowledge connected, to make cross of. And this nice here, this is the S for secrets, and you'll see it NSMK2. You'll see it when they took for them wives. The took will be wife, and where it says wives, it'll say nice from. But it's just nice make to. Nice make to you. The side and out, inside out, same to. And so I just give you an idea, but you go back and read this, maybe not 100 times. Some of us it might take 100. And you'll see another meaning in there. And when you do get it, every word in it makes sense. Everything makes sense. But this your word, the Jisu, to make cross of. And so it depends on where it's at. And from mouth, make cross of. And so even with that word, it could still have many meanings, depending on everything else. Well, was my tears, W-A-S, was my tears, or wash my tears. This S changes. Sometimes it's S-H, sometimes it's S. You have to put it in place. And so this ox by, I say trees, the same as this AMR. I say word because all the way through the Bible they say it means word or he said. But it means the knowledge from to begin. The panorama, the surrounding, mark the knowledge from to begin, or to mar. And the ox by is to see cross by. And so not necessarily from the trees, but to see the cross by. And the OS, the I consume from, to watch from. And after reading it a couple more times, you can see that it says the ration what corn, the good tie, and from the pie, and from the mouth make cross of was my home, the potamosity what vain, and from the mouth what cross of was my home. And home is to see from. Wherever I see you're from was your home. And so this OM, yeah, you have to watch. It has to fit in. But it could be a wash my tears, to cry a river, a great river, or was my home of the potamosity what vain. So in the Sumerian tales, Marduk was given the power of the first, the Ares, and there's no doubt in my mind that that's what the beginning of this story is about. These first 6 lines. Then the 7th line is to out Nibiru. Will amaze, will place much muium will smoked from the much well beating. So there's no doubt in my mind what this is about. It's about Marduk and Nibiru. So when I'm listening to a rabbi and try to explain this, as soon as I hear him say Adar, I know he doesn't know what he's talking about, because the words don't start with A. This reads backwards, and this says red, R-D-A, red. So this is red. This is Adar. This is the first month. There's your Pisces. Adar, red. So your word murder, M-R-D, Nimrod, Marduk, Mardu, from red. That's all the same word. You can see here is to dare from the seed from red, the Nimrod, seed from red. And Nimrod was a killer. So in the book of Sitchin, the Sumerian tablets, it talks about how they split the kingship up between the cycle of Nibiru, to split it up between 12 kings. And this cycle of Nibiru, it has to do with the perception of equinoxes. It's not exact science. And some of them say 25,772 years for the precession of equinox. I think some say around 28. Here's one saying 25,920. And it's not exact science, because the planetary objects, they slow down and speed up depending on things moving through the solar system. And so what it is they watch Jupiter at Easter. So Jupiter's got an orbital period of 11.862 years. That's our years. So between every 184 cycles of Jupiter, it'll line up right, but it's not consistent because it changes. And so what they'll do is they'll go down. They'll go down and pull argue. I talked about that before. The when Cain killed Abel, it's talking about the argue, and they go down to the south, and they watch the sun rise and set at Christmas, and they wait for it to go to its lowest spot. they're watching for the sun go up and down, and they're measuring everywhere it comes up and down, and they're trying to get a center point. They're trying to figure out exactly what day it is that it stops moving down and starts to move back up. And it'll become a little bit different. It gets lower. And so they mark it. They mark it up and down. And it's called a pull argue. Until they find the exact spot. Where it starts to come back up. And then they'll look at the moon from there. And they'll figure out where their Easter's going to be. And then they'll come back up on this Easter and they'll watch. They'll watch for the sun to rise. And when the sun rises up in Pisces here, they look for the position of Jupiter. Jupiter makes that spot right there with the sun. That's their new cycle. And so in 2012 it wasn't quite right. They maybe somebody misread, or maybe the planets got slowed down enough over the time, but it was the wrong cycle. April 8th. And you see they was off. Jupiter's nowhere around. Jupiter's way over here behind us. And that was the wrong cycle. 2012 wasn't the time. When Jupiter come back around, right about there on the 9th. You can see Jupiter lines up right there behind the sun in Pisces, and that's the mark of Nibiru. That'll be sitting right there on that red dot. And so possibly it could cause some planetary alignments with these two giants on this one side pulling us. And if especially if the moon, being that at Easter we're all lined up, you know, we're all lined up on the ecliptic, and if the moon's in place, it adds a little more pull. And all the other planets add some pull. And that's what causes our weather and earthquakes. Is not man, but all these planets pulling on us. And the big umbilical cord running from up here down to Jupiter, to the sun, and to all the planets. So I'll leave a link down below to somebody who knows more about these Birkeland currents and keeps up with this. And what they do is they watch for earthquakes and shifts, and then they look up and see where all the planets are. You see over here in July 2020 when every planet in the solar system is over here on one side. around this time, they're lining up, and they'll keep an eye on what patterns of these planets are causing the shifts in the Earth and shifts to other planets. And then you can go through and foretell the future like the Chaldeans. And we really got it easy now. But full moons and planetary alignments is what pulls on our Earth crust and cause disasters. Alright, this is real long. I'm going to cut this off. Good day. Hope you share, subscribe. Thanks to my new subscribers, and thanks for all the shares. And I'm going to keep on doing what I do best. And I'm going to keep on reading, and I'll get some up soon. Good day.